Thank you, Father Merlin. He has been communicating to us that this is all about a new phase of Church's mission, and we know was Pope is bringing about major overhauls in curial administration and everything, like the Predicate Evangelium. It's a question of preaching gospel, essentially. So everything boils down to how we radicalize love, because we can see bonds of love, local solidarity, everything manifested in these documents and these understandings. And we understand that we are already in a transitional phase. We are bearing the brunt of it. We are in the forefront of this transition, and we are in murky waters, but everything will settle down fast, and things can go smoothly. We appreciate your work you are doing for all the affiliated institutes, Father, and for the insights you have provided. And now may I invite Reverend Dr. Xavier Terrence for the delivery.
Good evening, fathers, and I had prepared 10 points in order to share with you, but due to lack of time, I shall take only 3 essential things as far as the affiliated, aggregated and incorporated institutes are concerned. 7 years are over. So naturally, we should have been masters of this document, but let's not bother about it. Let me start with the fundamental criteria. There are 4 criterion mentioned in this document. The first one is contemplation and the presentation of a spiritual, intellectual, existential introduction to the heart of the kerygma. The reason the document, rather the Pope, feels is that Christ continues to take flesh in our culture. This aspect is very, very important. Incarnation is not totally over, but incarnation is penetrating into the culture, continues to take flesh in the life of the church and humanity. That is why the document is also making use of the expression church as a mystic of living together. So beyond the academics, we need to penetrate into the internal aspect of every human being as well as in understanding the church. And the aim is capable of seeing the sacred grandeur of our neighbor. That is the goal. Each student who is getting formed, not merely educated, formed in the Catholic theological institutes should be capable of seeing the sacred grandeur of the neighbor. So this is the objective, and I would like to concentrate you on the first line, spiritual, you see the order, spiritual, intellectual, existential introduction. Often one might ignore the spiritual perspective of theological academics. The second criterion is a wide-ranging dialogue, not as a merely tactical approach, but as an intrinsic requirement for experiencing in the community the joy of truth. The Pope is insisting we need to promote a culture of encounter, not merely the mental exercise, but a culture of encounter, an encounter between all the authentic and vital cultures. This is very, very important. We cannot anymore remain only in the air of Catholicism or Christianity, but from the air we need to be rooted into dialogue with the vital and authentic culture. So the knowledge about the local culture is mandatory. And the Pope is also making use of his predecessor, who points out truth in fact is logos, which creates dialogos, and hence communication and communion. So the dialogue can be technically understood, dialogue between two entities. But I feel, this is my personal opinion, the dialogue should be also understood from Christian incarnational perspective. As the logos dialogued with human nature, and in human nature dialogued with all. So we can characterize, from Christian perspective. Here comes ecumenism and dialogue with other religions. And one of the suggestions by this document is contact with scholars of other disciplines, where these are believers, whether they are believers or not, in an effort to evaluate, interpret the latter's affirmations and judge them in the light of the revealed truth. Scholars, not merely the leaders alone for ecumenical and dialogue purpose, but we need to have contact with the scholars of other disciplines. The third one is interdisciplinary and cross-disciplinary approaches carried out with wisdom and creativity in the light of revelation. Various programs proposed by the ecclesiastical studies, and we need to have a proper integration of them. Courses ranging in theological, anthropological, existential, and epistemic perspectives. All these four dimensions are to be found in the theological faculties and institutes in order to give overall formation, an integrated formation. Missionary aspiration of reaching everyone, that is the aim. Reaching everyone, nobody is exempted. So naturally the students, the seminarians, the religious, the laity who are getting trained in our institute are to reach out to everyone with the perspective of destined to save the world. Not alone the Christians, the believers, but the whole world. And the fourth one is networking between the various theological institutions worldwide. The main objective of this networking, and fortunately in our time with the communication media and other internet facilities, it becomes easier. The worldwide common plan is to be formulated. Worldwide common plan. And we are called to realize that the very Catholicity that makes her a leaven of unity in diversity. So for the whole world, the Catholicism, and very especially in our local places, our institutes, becomes a leaven in order to make the dough into a greater reality. to promote a way of knowing and interpreting reality in the light of the mind of Christ. The church should reflect the different phases of the cultures and peoples in which it is received and takes root. To summarize these four criteria, two realities we can, keep for our administration as well as academic perspectives. A validly, solidly qualified personnels. We shall come to that little later. And the second one, to enter into a real dialogue with the culture. Then I do not propose, there are a few novelties we find in this Veritatis Gaudium. Number one, the networking, in order to share one's expertise with other institutes. Even, distance learning, that is the second novelty we find is possible. Not everything, but a particular subject can be taught from distance as far as expertise is concerned, but the document clearly states that we need to get approval from the concerned dicastery. The third novelty we find is ecclesiastical faculties that up-to-date didactic and teaching methods should be applied in an appropriate way in order to bring about personal involvement of the students. This is the real challenge. Normally in our classrooms it is one way, but how to get them involved in this learning we need to find out, and it is really a tough task. And all the institutions along with the mother institute, if we are able to think together, we can find out the strategies for this personal involvement of the students. The fourth one is interdisciplinary collaboration to the development of complementary among the various faculties, and in general to help to bring about the diffusion of Christian wisdom throughout all cultures. These are all the various novelties we find in this new document apart from the previous one. The fourth point is the challenges. The first challenge is our institute is in the context of secularization in all levels, local, national, and international levels. So we have got unique role in offering a witness to the gospel. They must stand firm in their Catholic identity and engage in dialogue with secular institutions without losing their distinct character. The second challenge is of ethical reflection and social responsibility. We are called to promote justice, human right, and care for creation in response to the world's suffering. That is the second challenge. That means how much we need to impart in the students the social teaching of the church as well as the moral teaching. The third challenge is social change. We are encouraged to engage in addressing global challenges. Engage in addressing the global challenges. Very especially like poverty, inequality, and ecological concerns. And the fourth challenge is global network. That means to respond to the global issues. So these are the various challenges put forth for the institution of theological studies. The fifth point I just mention and pass over. Our institutions are spaces of encounter and dialogue. You can go through these numbers, how we can become a space, a platform of encounter and dialogue. In the sixth point, which is very much pertaining to us, affiliated institutes and their unique role. The first one is identity and mission. My dear fathers, all of us who are affiliated, aggregated and incorporated must align ourselves with the broader vision of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute. So the institute needs to constantly provide the broader vision, the responsibility of the Mother Institute. The second one is balancing academic freedom and Catholic identity. While academic freedom is essential, affiliated institutes must balance it with doctrinal integrity, ensuring that their work respects the moral and doctrinal teaching of the Church, very especially in formulating our curriculum, various subjects. The third one is human dignity. The affiliated institutes are tasked with promoting the dignity of human person through their academic offerings. This means not only addressing intellectual development, but also promoting ethical reflection and social responsibility in the particular context. We are from various states, naturally, in particular context. The fourth one is forming well-rounded students. The affiliated institutes play a critical role in the holistic formation of the students. It includes their academic, spiritual, and ethical development, equipping them to be responsible, compassionate citizens in the globalized society, local society which is already globalized. With this, a type of introductory, let me get into the last three ones which are more essential. I am culling out from the whole document as far as the dialogue with the culture is important. The cultural engagement and sensitivity. Pope Francis calls us to promote a deep respect for the cultures in which they are embedded, engaging with local traditions, languages, and expressions. And in it, we have got a few subheadings. Promotion of dialogue with local cultures. As we read VG5, the faculties and the various cultures they encounter need to get into dialogue. Their engagement is not only about academic collaboration, but also a broader, ongoing dialogue with cultural expressions that enrich human understanding and spiritual life. The second one is interdisciplinary approach in the context of local cultures. That means we allow the study of local culture in their diverse dimension. We can read it in VG number 8. The third one, recognition of local diversity in formation. Pope Francis highlights that the academic formation of the students should include the study of local cultures and their contributions to a broader human experience. This recognition allows for the appreciation of local traditions, wisdom, and customs which should be integrated into theological institutions' educational mission. The fourth one, evangelization through cultural expression. The document emphasizes the role of faculties in evangelizing through the cultural expression they encounter. By fostering a deeper understanding of local cultures, theological institutions can better present the Christian message in ways that resonate with local populations, thereby making the gospel more accessible and relevant. This alone we shall take for further reflection. support for local languages and traditions. We are called to promote the study of local languages and the preservation of cultural traditions as part of their educational program. This includes offering courses in local languages and promoting cultural practices that reflect the faith and dignity of the local people, very especially to contribute through the local language. Solid resource books, not merely translations from other languages. Yes, of course, they are also. But our expertise need to contribute through local languages as far as essential basic study books. A solid Bible commentary, a solid theological book, not merely applied theologies, but essential biblical perspectives and essential theological perspectives, which with my limited experience, I feel very much lacking in our local languages. With that, I get into the most important one briefly. I would like to title it, The Mandate for the Affiliated Institutes. I begin from the third line. Regional philosophies, along with the regional religious sacred writings and customs, could be a catalyst for people to understand better the revelation in Jesus Christ, as it helped Augustine to come closer to the light of Jesus Christ and comprehend a revelation deeper. I call it cultural openings and sapiential platforms. Cultural openings and sapiential platforms need to be traced in the local philosophies and local religious sacred texts. Now, I depend on three important documents and further encyclicals. The Preparatio Evangelica, the famous writing of Eusebius of Caesarea, which is quoted in Lumen Gentium. Whatever good or truth is found among other religions is considered by the church to be a preparation for the gospel, not an alienation, not something totally different. Preparation for the gospel. Are the Gentiles leaven? Let them be familiar with their national and religious traditions. Let them gladly and reverently lay bare the seeds of the word which lie hidden among their fellows. Seeds of the word found in other cultures and religions. Evangelii Nunciandi 53. They're all impregnated with innumerable seeds of the word, logos, and can constitute a true preparation for the gospel. To the quote, felicitous term used by Second Vatican Council, borrowed from Eusebius of Caesarea. With that, for practical understanding, I enter into the example of Augustine. In Spe Salvi, number 28, Benedict XVI is quoting. His intention was to practice a Christian version of the ideal of the contemplative life expressed in the great tradition of Greek philosophy. He learned from Greek philosophy and he made it into a Christian version. Can we find out our philosophies of various regions, our religions can offer a Christian version? In Lumen Fide, number 33, I read the bold characters. Augustine all right. 2 minutes. Will be, anyhow, I try. Augustine accepted the Greek philosophy of light with its insistence on the importance of sight. His encounter with Neoplatonism introduced him to paradigm of the light which descending from on high to illumine all reality is a discovered that reality is a symbol of God. Augustine thus came to appreciate God's transcendence and discovered that all things have a certain transparency that they can reflect God's goodness. In short, Greek philosophy guided Augustine towards the clarity of the revelation in and through Jesus Christ. Can our philosophy and other openings, sapiential openings in our local culture and Indian religion offer us this? This is a very strong recommendation I would like to propose for ourselves to find out, and we can make Christianity rooted in our soil. I vividly still remember the famous saying of Reverend Father Xavier of a great memory, who taught me liturgy in 1986 in the other side of the campus. He used to always tell, Christianity should be sown in the soil, and the seed should get the nourishment from the soil, and it should grow with the characteristic of the soil, and it should never be replanted. Perhaps I find the great wisdom saying of my own liturgy professor may be found an opening in this document. I conclude with the suggestions. It's not working. That is the computer. Oh, okay. Suggestions. The first one, we need to go for well-equipped teacher. Research in authentic and essential aspects of sacred scripture and theology. I would like to, offer one example. When I was asked by the board to shift from biblical studies to petrology, I always adore him with the words, the patriarch of this campus, Father Legrand, called me and told, don't go for historical perspective of petrology. Go from scriptural basis. Go for the earliest interpretation by the fathers of the Bible and go for it. And another person who was also remembered by Father Legrand yesterday, Father Joseph Francis of our great memories, gave me one small article on the writing of Augustine. Terrence, your research should be of this quality. I'm not opposing myself, but let's go to the core of things. Very especially the candidates chosen to teach in our institutions, their research should concentrate not on the peripheries of theology. Go for the most core element. Then the candidate, when he comes here as professor, can approach the applied theology, the theology of periphery in a better manner. Offering the core, making the student to be open for, their own perspective. The second one is, a bishop's concern. 2 years ago, he told me personally, I am afraid if there will be enough authentic biblicists and theologians in our country from 7 to 10 years. It's a real question. So we need to take extra step. The second one is teachers with good knowledge about the local cultural elements. And from our level we can guide the students in a better way to compare the authentic biblical perspective and theological studies had with the cultural elements. And I still remember Joseph Zuza, our administrator, when he was here a student, he was comparing between Job and Indian Job song to Tukaram. I still vividly remember. Such kind of encouragement towards the students. And the third one, St. Peter's Pontifical Institute should take effort to organize sharing of strategies, updating of materials, and suggestions for better collaboration and imparting knowledge and formation. I place it as a request on behalf of everybody. The fourth one is a real concern, bringing in a better understanding and collaboration between the mother institution, the seminary, and the institute which is joined to the seminary. Many of the seminaries may be facing this issue because with the strike of a signature, there emerges another total authority. We cannot simply ignore in the long history of the mother institution. I wish that the dicastery for evangelization, very especially the section of first evangelization, will bring out a document for not for compromise but for clarity, and without which we cannot. And Father mentioned, Ranjit mentioned that autonomy, total autonomy, including structure, the personals, and economical autonomy. And how many seminaries will be able to go for economical autonomy between, the seminary and institute is a very big concern. Very big, real, authentic concern. I hope that Vatican will make some efforts, but as far as my experience goes, the local regulation can satisfy this particular problem. With that, I wind up with my last statement. Let us try to find out the cultural openings and sapiential platforms which can bring men and women closer to the light of revelation in and through the incarnate Son of God. As Augustine experienced, let us help various men and women in our nation to experience Jesus Christ. Thank you very much.